Welcome to Breaking 70, Race Against Father Time. Hey there, GolfCask members. This is Brian Bailey, and we're talking Breaking 70 today. So this is going to be a fun episode. What we're going to talk about is your shot cone and variance. So last episode, we kind of introduced scoring variance. So what you're going to learn about golf, it's nothing but variance. So we're going to dive in here. We're going to talk a little bit about variance of carry distance, lateral dispersion of your tee shots, approach shots, and things like that, and kind of how to start training for it in the off season. I do have an injury right now. I actually pinched my sciatica, and I have been on the floor for 10 days. This is the first day I'm up. I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm going to go ahead and pump this baby out. And then I had to reschedule a couple of our video segments that I was going to film here in the next week or two as I recover. But hey, just like golf, throws you a monkey wrench, you got to figure out how to do it. So first thing we're going to talk about is what is a good shot, right? When you hit a shot up on a green, is it a good shot or is it not? Well, there's a lot of variables there, right? How close are you to the pin? Where did you aim? What is your average dispersion? Long, short, right, left? Are you a draw player? Did you overdraw your target line? Did you push it too far outside of your shot cone? So again, starting to understand what a good shot is more so than just did I hit the green. It's did I hit the green under the intention of what I was trying to do. So you could hit a great shot, but by definition, you missed your shot cone by a mile and it ends up right next to the hole. Technically, it's a great shot, but for golf, but for what we're training and what we're trying to be as a golfer, might not be that great a shot. So what we want to be able to do is define what great shots are and what that really looks like. So what is a shot cone? A shot cone basically says, I have a target. That's what I'm aiming at. Either if I'm a draw player or a cut player, they're right or left of the target, my average shot will end up somewhere inside of this cone. If we can define the cone, long, short, right? So inside the cone, you'll have a long, short component and a left, right component. So if I can define the cone and I can actually hit the cone, then I can really start to understand how to move around a golf course. Because nobody hits a dead straight ball. Or, as Jack Nicklaus said, that is the hardest shot in golf to hit. So everybody's hitting a version of that, right? There's a little cut, little draw, hook, slice, push. So there's lots of variations of shots, but there is a shot cone that you will predominantly hit. And if we can define that shot cone, now we can take it out on the golf course for training and for a purpose of play and really, really start affecting targeting and your scoring. So a lot of people, what they don't understand is they control the ball well enough to score better than they do, but they don't understand what the average shot looks like, so they don't play the odds correctly, and they put themselves in really, really bad positions. So the first one we're going to talk about real quickly is carry distance, right? Long and short, right? So if I'm hitting into a par 3 here, what you can see is there's a green box short of the hole, red box past the hole, orange box kind of dead on top of the hole. What we need to be able to understand is when we're talking about carry distance, we want to be able to control the shot coming in. Do I need to be below the hole for a better putt? Past the hole for a better putt? Are there certain parts of the green I don't want to be on? So again, having that knowledge of going into a golf course and where I want to leave the ball is really important. Most people just see flag and go crazy over it. Well, we don't always want to be pin high depending on the actual green. Pin high could be huge amounts of break, which makes putting very challenging. Or if we kept it below the hole, maybe we're coming up the hill where it breaks very slightly. We might be able to make a 10, 15-foot putt compared to missing a 6-foot putt dead 90 degrees, breaking across 4 or 5% slope. So understanding how we're attacking the hole and understanding carry distances. So if I'm saying I'm trying to go short of the hole, what I need to be able to understand is if I hit 8 out of 10 shots, it's going to hit this distance or a little short of it. Because if I'm trying to stay short of the hole, I don't want to go past the hole. There's a reason. So I have to understand my game well enough to know what kind of variance, how many yards plus or minus per club does my club go. So let's say I have a 120-yard pitching wedge. If I hit it as good as I can actually hit it, it might go to 132. And if I hit it, kind of poorly, maybe, average would be 120, let's say 122. And if I hit it poorly, let's say it's 116. So now when I'm hitting and starting to target greens, I can say, all right, my goal is never to go past this distance. So my goal is to go on this hole, it's 124 yards. I'm going to hit my 122 shot, my standard shot, and I'm going to be below the hole. And I know probably 8 out of 10 times I'm going to be below the hole and I'm going to be where I need to be. So that's starting to stack variance in your favor. because there is variance. Again, nobody hits at 122 every time. It's going to be 122, 116, 127, so it's going to bounce forward. But again, if we can define that variance plus or minus a certain distance per club, man, now we can really start attacking the golf course. Now, there are variables, and again, this is high level. We'll go into variables later when we get into a lot of the instruction part of, sitting down in the rough, flyers, wind conditions, pin conditions, and stuff like that. But I just really want you to start to understand variance-wise, there's a long and short component, and that's a really easy component to understand because having lasers and knowing yardages and where the ball hits and ends up, it's very easy to predict how often how short or long you are off of your target number, and it gets really easy to really be able to predict that. So where it gets challenged is lateral, left, right? How often do I push it? How far left or right do I push it, right? Carry is long, short. Laterals would be left, right. So a lot of people have access to TrackMans and all that. That's great. TrackMan will give you all that information, but the problem is you don't have TrackMan on the golf course legally. So what can we do? So what I've discovered over my tenure inside of college golf and just golf in general is you can use finger dispersions. What do I mean by finger dispersions? So each finger is a 3% miss. So if I hold up two fingers, such as this image here that I'm showing on the screen, that would be a 6% miss. A 6% miss would be kind of tour quality. So that means when they hit a shot, they're going to be within two fingers every time, or with 6% right or left of the hole. And this goes for shape of shot, right? So this is an actual cut player. So the cut player, I'm putting my fingers to the left of the hole. So it's going to start out left, and it's going to work right back to the cup as a right-handed player. So as I cut it, it's going to be turning back to the flagstick. So we always want the ball working to the flagstick. Ideally, we don't want to overcut and go past the pin. That's cutting too much. So you can see that secondary finger, kind of the fingers down here. I don't mind going past the hole, maybe one finger, but don't want to do it very often. So again, how I'm starting to shape the shot, I can actually start to use fingers to show what percentage left or right of the hole I am. So think of it this way. Now I know how long and short I am on average, and I know on average how many fingers I am by different clubs. Now when I'm attacking pins, how easy does it get to start targeting? If I know what my variances are and I know what's good, it gets really easy to be able to predict where to aim. Here's the same shot, but this would be a draw player. Once again, two fingers are actually right of the flagstick. So we want the ball starting right, turning back left to the pin. And again, we're looking at 6%, two fingers, really good player. If you have no shot shape at all, so higher handicappers and things like that, you can actually bring both fingers together. If you're trying to hit a straight ball, because a straight ball, you'd have a double miss. You'd have a push right or maybe a pull left, or the ball working one way or the other. So you could actually go two fingers below, and again, you can kind of expand. To give you an idea of what this looks like, tour players would be two fingers. Three fingers would be somebody shooting in the mid to upper 70s to low 80s. Four fingers would be kind of an 80 shooters. Five fingers would be someone shooting in the 90s. Man, we can start getting up to 10 fingers, whatever, depending on where you are by caliber. But I usually stop at 5 fingers. So even if you're shooting 100, 5 fingers left or right of the flagstick, if I can keep the ball within that, that gives me a good sense of what my control is, and then I will try to step down those fingers over time. So again, these fingers give you the ability to take TrackMan on the golf course. And again, you're defining your shot cone, and you can actually paint the picture on the golf course, which is huge when it comes to targeting and lowering your score. So what I did is I went ahead and took finger dispersions from different yardages and using the different finger dispersions, and basically shows you at 50 yards, one finger would be basically 2 yards left or right of the flag. Two fingers would be 3.5 yards, which would be like 10 feet. Three fingers would be 15 feet, so forth and so on. So it kind of shows you by distance what the average finger dispersion is. The orange is actually the tour player. The best in the world is kind of one finger. And then for a college player, three finger would be very normal. Higher handicappers, now we're getting out into 4 or 5 fingers. And what I also did is showed you tour proximities in the very far box. So what that gives you at 50 yards, they averaged 4, which is 2 fingers, right? So they averaged 4 yards, 2 fingers is right for 3.5. And then you can see at the best proximity on tour was 2.6, and you can see one finger was 1.8. So one finger was a little bit better, but pretty good. So if we did 100 yards at the same thing, the average tour player is at 6 yards, and you can see that 2 fingers is at 7, so very close. You can see the best proximity at 4.6, and you can see 1 finger at 4.5. So you can see kind of how these numbers are really add up. So 1 finger is best in the world. 2 is kind of a tour player. 3 is mid 70s, low 80s. 4, 80s and above to 90. 90s would be 5. And then again, if we're outside of that, who cares? We're going to work on 5 and see how many we can fit inside of 5 and kind of wind that down. So when we're training, maybe we hit 10 balls and say how many shots are within those 10 fingers, right? So I could be sitting on a range here, and you can kind of see the image here over my shoulder. I have 2 pool noodles on each side, which actually defines the width of my landing area. So ideally, how often can I land it within those pool noodles? So I can sit there and hit 10 balls. As long as I hit 10 balls within, right or left of the pin or on both sides of the pin, maybe I do it 8 out of 10. Well, that's really good, right? Maybe I only do it 4 out of 10. Well, either I can expand the width, add a finger, or I can just say, all right, now I'm averaging 4. What do I need to do to be able to average 5? And things like that. So the beauty is this is giving us a really good tool to be able to assess our ability on the golf course using finger dispersions and, again, defining what that shot cone looks like. To give you an idea on the golf course, here would be an aiming strategy on the golf course. So we're hitting a drive on this hole. You can see bunkers right, pond left. So what would a cut player do? A cut player, the ball would be working away from the pond and towards the bunkers, and a draw player would be working towards the bunkers and turning towards the hazard. Again, we're going to use a 2-finger dispersion, so about 6%, tour average. So basically, where am I going to be aiming at the exact same place to be able to hit this shot? I don't know. Let's find out. So a cut player, we're going to do what? We're going to aim it here just in front of the bunker. So basically, as we do that, we're going to hold out 2 fingers, and we're going to make sure that a 2-finger miss doesn't end up in the pond. So the worst thing we can do is if we hold up 2 fingers and the shot of our good dispersion, a good shot cone, is actually out inside of the hazard. So technically, I could hit a really, really good golf shot and hit it in the middle of the lake because I didn't aim very well. So I want to make sure that my aim is correct. So when I aim at a target, even at the edge of my variance, I know I'm not going to end up in the hazard. So you can see my target line. So I'm going to aim at the bunker, but I'm going to understand that the ball is going to start kind of towards the edge of the hazard, and it should turn back to my target. That would be hitting a nice cut. Well, draw would be the same thing. You can see the draw, I'm not aiming at the exact same point, right? Because if I aimed at the exact same point where I did with the cut, you can kind of see over my shoulder, I would be probably hitting it in the bunkers or maybe even right of the bunkers, which is going to put me in trouble as well. So actually my aim point for a draw player is going to be kind of mid-third of the, kind of top of the mid-third of the bottom of the fairway. And then I'm going to hit it toward, basically the ball's probably going to start out somewhere towards the bunker and turn back to that target. So again, controlling my shot cone gives me the ability to control the golf ball. And if I can control the golf ball, I have a really good chance of scoring. Where, again, most people go wrong is they don't understand what they normally do and what percentages they do it in. So a lot of targeting is a lot of guessing, and a lot of guessing usually ends up with a lot of lost balls and a lot of high numbers. So if we can start to apply finger dispersions inside of training and finger dispersions on the golf course, now we got something. So to give you an idea here, once again, so if you had no shot shape, right, so we would actually go 2 fingers on both sides if I'm hitting a relatively straight ball, and I would want to adjust that to make sure that where I'm aiming doesn't put me in the hazards either way. So you can see with this image right here, if I aim kind of in the upper right third or kind of the right side of the fairway, that puts me in a good position where I will not end up in the lake, so I won't have a lost ball. There's a small percentage chance that I might end up in the bunker if I have a carry issue, but overall I should be in a really good position not to hit it in a hazard. And all we're trying to do in golf is to stack the odds to as much as in our favor. That'll give us a really good chance of scoring better. So here's me on the golf course. This was in the summertime. This is a par 3. I'm holding up 2 fingers, which is 6%. So you can see that I am aiming at my target line is the actual flag stick, and I'm creating my cone, and I go ahead and hit the shot. And that, again, that paints the cone, so that does not bring the bunker into play. As you can see, my 2 fingers keeps the bunker right. So this should be a really good opportunity for me to be on the putting green and have a good look at birdie. And then the next hole, I'm on a par 4, hazard right. If you can see the kind of the big willow tree, there's a pond in front of it. There's actually OB left. So you got to be pretty accurate here. So again, I'm going to go 2 fingers. making sure, again, understanding my shot cone. And again, this would be a draw player. I want to make sure that I'm not ending up in the hazard with a kind of a pushy shot. So my target is actually kind of on the left side of the fairway, starting out kind of towards the pond, working my way back. So again, that 2-finger gives me the chance to be able to hit better shots and be able to predict what's getting ready to happen. So how do I take this to the range or to the golf course? Just kind of what I showed you. Start holding up fingers. Again, start inside of training is best. It's at the range. Say, here, I'm at 130 yards. I'm going to hold up 3 fingers because I tend to draw it. 3 fingers right of the flag. I'm going to hit 10 balls. How many are within those 3 fingers? Jot it down in your journal. 2. All right, maybe now we're averaging 2. Can we set the goal for 4? And then we're going to train and try to do that. So as we start to control the golf ball better, the better we get at golf. And that's what people don't understand. People are always chasing distance, distance, distance. And distance is important, but my ability to control the golf ball is disproportionately more important. So if I can control distance within a certain region and also left-right within a certain region, now I can systematically move it around the golf course, prevent big numbers, which is the number one killer inside of golf scoring, is if you make a double, right? You make a bogey, all you got to do is make a birdie to erase it. You make a double, triple, or another score higher than that, it's going to take a whole lot of effort to erase that. So what we want to do is avoid those big numbers. And again, if we start targeting smarter and better and understanding our shot cone, you got a much better chance. So this is kind of defining what shot cone is and understanding there's a variance inside of our shot cone. Next week, we're going to start talking a little bit more about short game variance and putting variance. And then we should be able to start getting into some training and introducing you to all of our coaches coming up. Again, I'm injured. I'm damaged. This is probably not my best presentation because I am literally dying in pain right now. But I did want to make sure that I got this out to you today. So again, go out there, start training your variance inside of your shot cone. And again, if I'm a shot cone draw player, ideally, we don't want to pass the target line very often. We are always working to the pin, but not across. Understand that will happen, but we don't want it to happen very often or too extreme. But other than that, go out there and start having fun training shot cones, and I will see you next week at Breaking 70 as we define more and more pieces and start to understand what it takes to shoot better numbers. It's not all about technique. It's not all about golf swing. It's understanding how to move the golf ball around the golf course in the most efficient way to keep those scores down. Cheers, mate.